Hello everybody, Billy here, and we're gonna do just a really quick rundown of how to do a TCP. I wrote up some instructions, I'll share those along with this video. So the first thing we're gonna do, I forgot to erase this from the last time, but we're gonna make our quick time control plan. So the template should be uploaded on the Blackboard page for you to use. So it'll have this cover sheet. This is a great place to put just real general stuff. Who's going on the trip? So I just threw in some names. The area you're going to be can be really helpful. Your total distance, I'll show you how to find that in a second. We're going to do just a day hike for this presentation. And then the freak out time is just, I'm not back. I'm probably hurt. So unless I call. So that's just a really good thing to have. In this notes section, put any area hazards, any cool things to look out for. Is it a wildflower bloom? Cool things. It doesn't have to be all serious, all hazards. So the first step we're going to do after we've kind of filled out our general idea, and even probably before that, we're going to open up CalTopo. So on this, the first thing you're going to want to do is select your region. So I'll zoom out. I default to Chico because I live in Chico and I know it pretty well and I know it on the map pretty well. And I'm going to do a TCP for one of my favorite hiking trails. So first off, we're going to make a line. So you can make a new line just as a quick refresher by right clicking. You go new line, and then that opens up your line tool. Click where you want to start, and as you're dragging along the route, click every so often, and as long as you stay on these yellow highlights, it will just make the line for you. No need to get out the map compass and string. Where did it go? Oh, okay. So I already did this earlier, so my things were muted. So I'm gonna just hide those for a second. So we have our rough outline. I expect most of you to not be as quick. I'm just very familiar with this trail, so I can bust it out. I've tried to make this presentation 3 times already, so I am a lion. So the first thing you're gonna wanna do is just mark everywhere that there's a trail junction. So we see, a junction right here. That's where 2 trails meet, 2 or more trails, I suppose. So we'll mark this again with the right click, new marker, and then make sure you label it. I'm going to label it J2, and then it'll show up. Again, I had mine hidden because I have already done this. So I have them all labeled already. Those are helpful to put on your map so that you have landmarks, you can regroup at them with your group, or maybe you're like, oh, after I hit this junction, after this section, I know that I need to go straight instead of turning. And then you've already thought that through for your hike. You're ready to go, you know your route. So I've got all my junctions labeled. You would do that one at a time, making sure you label them. I chose the J1, 2, 3. You could call them junctions. You could call them fun names like, I don't know, Jimmy, Stephen, Paul, whatever you want to do, as long as you can understand it. I tend to shorthand. So then the next thing, we've got our big overview route, and we're going to pick our sections. So for longer hikes, especially ones where there aren't many trail junctions, a good way to do sections is every junction, take a break, pause there, that is a section. This is a pretty short hike, so with a lot of trails, so that doesn't work great. So what we're going to do is break it up into a couple of junctions, and then we'll stop over here at roughly the halfway point. This works for day hikes. You kind of got to figure it out, feel it out when you're doing longer backpacking style hikes. So what you can do, we'll open up this profile over here on the side, click the little graph thing, and that'll show you the route profile. You can drag it across. You see there's like a little red dot right here, and that dot will move around depending on where you are in your profile, and it'll show that up on your route. So I tend to do, especially for shorter hikes, around 4-ish miles. I'll break it into halves. So we'll probably stop about here, especially because that's when you hit that big uphill. So the way that we can split it, we zoom right on in, you left click on your route and you get this handy little split button, hit OK. And now you have two routes over here. So it's like, and then we'll make sure we label them. So I'm going to label this one S1 and this one S2. I tend to go numbers increasing. That way it's clearer on, it's like I do 1 first and then I go to 2. That's just how I think things through. Disregard these over here. That was from an earlier attempt at this recording. So what we'll do is we can click here at the bulk observations, and that'll show us our total number of sections. So especially if you have more sections, so if you have a 4-section hike instead of this 2, this is a really great way to see your route. So we're going to disregard these 2. Those were older. I probably should delete them. And we're going to look at S1 and S2. And you see each one has their distances right here. Add those up, and that's your total distance. I did that earlier. I put that at the top as the, I think it's like 4.4-ish miles. So once you've got that done, I'm just real quick gonna ignore those. Okay. So we've got our sections, we've got our junctions. Now that our route is planned in the mapping software, we can first off go here and print individual maps from the bulk observations button. Oh, don't forget to select them. So you can select by clicking one, holding shift and clicking the other one, and that'll select more than one. If you wanted to click all 4, shift will click them all the way through. If you wanted to click a couple at a time, holding control will let you do that. I just need 1 and 2, and we'll print our maps. While that works, it takes a minute for that to load. We will go ahead and get started on the TCP part. So, oh my goodness, sorry about that. So we've got the time control plan. I already filled mine out, so that's just on me. So date and time, it's very important, especially for multi-day, to have the time you start and the time that you end, especially for people, oh, I didn't want to do that, people who are watching from home. So I like to do the start date and then day 1, especially for, like your multi-day hikes. Day 1, this would, if I had multiple days, I'd label them day 1, day 2, day 3. So, for here, I'm getting ahead of myself. So start time, I'll write my start time first. Yeah, we'll start around noon. It's just kind of whenever you get to the trailhead when you start. It's good to plan ahead for when you start. Just rough estimates are fine there, especially when you're traveling long distances. So for this first segment, we're gonna hike from the trailhead. So that is right here. Throw a little marker there. Call it TH. So from trailhead, and we're gonna hike this first section, which we already decided was from trailhead all the way down to J4. Open back up my Word document. It's this one, yes. So trailhead to J4. We know that that is hiking, and we are going mostly downhill. We can see that also over here. Our miles traveled will go back to the map. It's very much a lot of back and forth. An option you can do is split them up so you have one screen and then the other screen, which I might do for the rest of this. Get it to work. Okay. It gets kind of busy. I'm just going to minimize that. Okay. So we've got from trailhead to junction 4, and we need to know how far we are going for that section. So that is section 1. We're going to click our profile statistics, and that'll open up the profile for that section. The important things to look at are up here. That's where the cursor's at. So wherever you're dragging, it'll show you specifically the distance from your start point to where you're at. Super handy for seeing basically where you're at. So we know that this is 2.4 miles, and that's our total distance, or 2.14, excuse me. Update that. We have our elevations, they're the gross elevations, so we are going up 185 feet and down 951 feet. And then type that into your elevation gain and loss, and then that's where you'll do your time it will take calculations. So you have your speed. For groups, it tends to be pretty slow. It feels crazy to say 1 mile an hour, but that also takes into account brakes and adjusting packs and, oh, I left my water bottle deep in the bottom of my pack. I got to unpack everything, get it out, pack everything back. So giving yourself a very conservative time it will take is it's a better strategy. Once you kind of get a feeling of how fast you can go with your gear and your group, you are able to adjust that speed. But for the most part, I say around 1 to 2 miles an hour for backpacking. If it's a day hike, I know I can do about 3, maybe 4 miles an hour if I'm really speeding. But for this, we'll just say 2 miles per hour. And then, whatever. And then the calculations you got here, your hour, you add an hour for every gain of 1,000 feet and add a half hour of every gain, or every 1,000 feet you lose. So we're right here about 1,000 feet going down. So we are going to add 30 minutes. And that totals up to 1.5 hours. So then we'll take this 1.5 hours, bring it back over to here, and you add it into the time you start plus an hour and a half, boom, gets you to 1:30. The evacuation route, if we want to, this is a super important thing, really great to think through beforehand, is, if you have an emergency, what's the best way to bug out of where you're at? So I would say in this case, our best bet is probably to either turn around and hike out to this road over here. This is the fenced road in Bidwell Park. They can get emergency vehicles up here if they need to. They can also get emergency vehicles down this road. So backtracking towards the car, especially if somebody's hurt, is probably your best bet because it avoids uphills. If there's some sort of fire or something, knowing, it's faster to turn around and run back depending on where the fire is. Just have it in mind. I've never needed an evacuation or to evacuate, but it is key important to know about it and have planned ahead. As Jock always says, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So knowing, what ways you can get out, you don't necessarily need to put them on the map, but just having thought through them and writing them out on your thing. That also helps in the case that emergency crews are trying to find you, they're trying to get to you, they know you're going this direction, so they should come this direction, meet in the middle. For the notes section, very good to label how many junction crossings you have, especially for lots of trail areas like Bidwell Park. A junction is a point where you can, that a group, if everyone has a map, you all know where the junctions are, and they're great spots to regroup. They're also great landmarks to know how far you're going or just to know where you're at on the map. So having them labeled and thinking ahead about where they are is great. And it also comes into play when you're planning your sections. So we're going to cross 3 junctions from the trailhead. We cross at J1, J2, J3, and stop at J4. 15-minute break at the end of that segment. Then for our second segment, we're going to add the 15 minutes to our start time. So from 1:30 to 1:45, we're going to hike from junction 4 back to the trailhead. Again, really, it doesn't have to be crazy detailed, but just to give you a good idea of where you're going. So we're going to be hiking uphill mostly. The distance will open up our statistics thing over here. go all the way to the end. That tells us 2.3 miles distance. It's a little different because I did this earlier. Your elevation gains and losses, I did that wrong. So we're going up 840 feet, going down 81 feet. Because it's about a mile and a half-ish, mile and a quarter, we're gonna assume we're gonna hike around an hour and a half, just in distance. Then we're gonna do our add to the, we're climbing up the 1,000 feet about, so we're gonna go about 2.5 hours. Our our evacuation route. So we're starting here, and if we need to get out of Bidwell Park, it's good to just know, what's the fastest way. So if we make it up this hike and we got to get out, there's this lovely route here, and then that is the freeway right there. So if we hike up, say here, it's the Bloody Pin Trail, take it up to J5, and then we got to take out on the Humboldt Trail. So that's basically all you got to say there. Just be thinking ahead, plan ahead, and prepare for any incidents where you might need to get out. Another way to get out, all the way over here, there's, I don't know if this is, the Pine Trail. You could take the Pine Trail and bug out if you need to. Have those in mind. You don't have to list every single evacuation route, but make mental notes of them in case you need to clear out. And then the final thing, this is a pretty gnarly hike up. And so it's good to know, I'm going to take a 10-minute break once I hit the top here at J5. Another thing to note is that this Bloody Pin Trail is it's pretty frequently used by bikes. So it'd be, I'm doing that wrong, but it'd be good to note that down. So we'll say Bloody Pin Bike Trail. It's not just a bike trail, but it's good to know that you should watch out for bikes while you're climbing that. And then finally, we're back at the trailhead, and this is just a quick example column for if you're going to take kind of a substantial break. Especially for longer hikes, you want to have your lunch break, and it's good to put that into your TCP. So we're going to say here at 4:25, we're going to be at the trailhead, and we're going to eat lunch. Doesn't make sense to eat lunch at 4:25 p.m., but we're eating lunch. We're not going anywhere. We're not gaining any elevation. We can give an idea of how long it's going to take. Our evacuation route isn't really relevant here because we're already at the cars. But if you were taking a break, if we took our lunch break here at J4, it'd be good to have the same evacuation route as we listed above. And then notes are leave after eating. We're just heading home. Yeah, basically that is how I want you to do these TCPs. If you have questions, let me know. And I hope you all have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday. Thank you.